When the hammer drops, the pretenders always hear it first. Some people spend years trying to bury the truth, forgetting one thing: the ground always gives back what doesn't belong to it. My dear chosen ones, let that quote sit in your chest for a moment. Let it echo. Because right now, someone who tried to rewrite your story is feeling the tremor of a truth they can't outrun anymore. And you're finally entering the chapter where your silence isn't just understood, it's respected. Your patience isn't just acknowledged, it's compensated. Your strength isn't just recognized, it's feared in all the right places. My chosen ones, listen closely. What's unfolding for you right now isn't a coincidence, a lucky break, or some random alignment of events. This is the moment when the universe slams its fist on the table, stamps the paperwork and says, "Case closed. Your money is on the way." And someone who gambled against you, someone who thought their manipulation was airtight, just realized they bet their entire identity on the wrong outcome. You might be wondering, why now? Why did it take this long? Why did I have to break, rebuild, and carry weight that wasn't mine just to get here? And chosen ones, the answer is simple but sharp. Every delay was gathering evidence. The scales weren't tipping slowly, they were being loaded. Every lie someone told about you was another receipt. Every smear, every whisper, every attempt to block your progress was marked, time-stamped, and quietly stored for the day the universe decided to pull the file. And today, that file just hit the desk. You see, there's a certain kind of person who thinks they can play smart, play subtle, play invisible. They think they can twist your truth behind your back and smile in your face like their conscience is clean. But they forget something crucial. Your journey has witnesses they can't see. Your resilience has a memory, and your name. Your name is heavier than they realized. They tried to move it like it was paper. They didn't know it was steel. My dear chosen ones, understand this. The ruling in your favor isn't just a decision, it's a reveal. It's a spotlight turning on in a room full of people who swore they were innocent. And trust me, nothing terrifies a pretender more than a light they didn't prepare for. Punishment doesn't scare them, exposure does. Because punishment stays behind closed doors. Exposure spreads. Right now, someone who counted on your silence is choking on their own storyline. Someone who treated your struggle like entertainment is realizing the plot twist wasn't written for them. It was written about them. Someone who thought they got away with it suddenly can't sleep because the truth refuses to stay buried. Before we move forward, chosen ones, take a moment to support this mission. If this message is already hitting home, if you feel the shift, the power, the clarity building inside you, show it some love. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so we can keep delivering the kind of raw, transformative, and energizing content you deserve. Your support isn't just engagement, it's fuel. It helps us grow, it keeps this space alive, and it allows us to bring you more insight, more strength, and more breakthroughs exactly when you need them. Stay connected, stay empowered, and stay rising. Chosen ones, breathe. Not because you're weak, but because you've held your breath long enough. This moment isn't just a payout, it's payback delivered through truth, not revenge. It's the universe showing up like an unexpected inspector, flipping open the ledger, circling the imbalance and saying, "We're correcting this today." Ask yourself this: how many times did you think you were losing when you were actually being documented? How many times did you think you were being ignored when the universe was quietly preparing your compensation? How many times did their confidence shake you, not knowing that confidence was borrowed time? You didn't lose. You were being calculated, and now the calculation is complete. Your money isn't moving. It's accelerating. The energy around your name isn't shifting. It's erupting. And the people who thought they could stunt your growth are finding out the hard way that chosen ones don't rise quietly. They rise loudly, even when they say nothing. They rise with evidence. They rise with receipts. They rise with momentum that can't be slowed by opinions, rumors, or insecure saboteurs. Chosen ones, this isn't just your moment. This is your proof. Proof that you were never overreacting. Proof that your intuition wasn't paranoia. Proof that your stillness was strength. Proof that you weren't imagining the resistance. You were enduring it until the right moment to overcome it. And now, the ruling is in. Your breakthrough is stamped. The doors are unlocked. And the same people who smirked at your struggle are about to witness your rise in real time, with no access, no excuses, and no place to hide. Buckle up, chosen ones. Because after this intro, we're diving into 14 points that will not only explain what's happening, they'll confirm everything you felt but couldn't prove. Get ready, because this story is just getting started. Chosen ones, before we dive into the next part of this revelation, take a second to anchor yourself right here with us. If this message is already stirring something real inside you, if the truth, the shift, the exposure, the justice resonates, show it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop the number 44 in the comments so we know you're awake, aware, and stepping into this new ruling with full force. Your support isn't just appreciated, it strengthens this entire movement. And now, let's move forward step by step. Because if you're truly a chosen one, every sign you're about to hear will feel uncannily familiar. Your breakthrough has fingerprints, and only chosen ones recognize them. Let's get started. Number 1. When the truth hits, every hidden beneficiary gets dragged into the light. When the curtain ripped, every hidden beneficiary got caught in the spotlight. Some people don't fear your rise. They fear the day their comfort stops being funded by your struggle. My dear chosen ones, let that quote hit you the way it needs to. Because right now, as this ruling swings in your favor, there are people whose knees just buckled, and not because of guilt, but because the light finally found them. They've been living comfortably in the dim corners of your setbacks, feeding off your delays like it was their personal power source. And today, that source just got unplugged. Chosen ones, hear me clearly. This moment is not just about freedom, compensation, or money being released. This is about exposure, raw, unfiltered, undeniable exposure. And exposure hits harder than any punishment ever could. It shakes people in ways consequences never do, because punishment might bruise an ego, but exposure destroys the image they built around it. You might be asking yourself, why were they even benefiting from my struggle? Why would people close to me feel safer when I was stuck? And the truth is cold, but necessary. Some individuals feel taller only when you are kneeling. They feel wiser only when you are confused. They feel relevant only when you are exhausted. They depended on your setbacks the way a parasite depends on a host, quietly, discreetly, strategically. And now that the court has ruled, the energy has shifted so violently that their entire foundation is shaking like a building with cracks they pretended didn't exist. They weren't afraid of your strength, chosen ones. They were terrified of the moment you regained it. Because the second you stood back up, their borrowed confidence collapsed. This ruling didn't just open doors for you, it snatched open every curtain hiding the people who thought you'd never notice their involvement. Those who acted supportive, those who played neutral, those who swore they had nothing to do with anything. All of them are being dragged into the spotlight, whether they're ready or not. The uncomfortable truth is that your struggle became their comfort zone. And the moment your breakthrough hit the table, their excuses became evidence. Their stories started contradicting themselves. Their justifications sounded like cheap rehearsals. Because chosen ones, the ruling didn't just free you, it revealed who had been plugging themselves into your losses like a hidden generator. My dear chosen ones, sit with this. Your breakthrough was never the threat. Your awareness is. Your clarity is. Your regained strength is. People can handle your potential, but they cannot handle you realizing just how much of that potential was drained by people who had no business anywhere near your path. This victory is not just your rise, it's the collapse of every structure built on your hardship. Someone out there is panicking because they don't know who exposed them. They don't know what detail slipped out. They don't know what piece of truth finally tipped the scale. All they know is that the comfort they built on your chaos is gone. And you might wonder, why didn't I see it earlier? Why didn't I notice how deep it ran? Because, chosen ones, you were too busy surviving, too busy trying to move forward, too busy fighting battles they secretly hoped you'd lose. They counted on you staying too overwhelmed to ever question the patterns around you. But the moment the ruling came down, everything clicked into place. Now the things you once ignored make perfect sense. The hesitations, the fake smiles, the shady support, the sudden kindness that felt a little too timed. It all reveals itself when the truth steps into the room. This isn't just restoration, it's a reset. The slate is clean, but their trail is not. And chosen ones understand this deeply. They were never afraid of you becoming powerful. They were afraid of you discovering who was benefiting from your power being restricted. Your rise is happening, and their shadows can't hide inside it anymore. Chosen ones, this is your confirmation. You weren't imagining it. You weren't paranoid. You weren't overthinking. You were surrounded by people who quietly prospered as long as you stayed quiet, tired, or stuck. And the ruling ripped the silence off the situation. What's unfolding now isn't punishment, it's revelation. It's the return of what was never theirs to touch. It's your strength snapping back into alignment, and it's their comfort evaporating in real time. Chosen ones, your money is on the way, yes, but so is the truth about why it took this long. And trust me, they feel it. They know it. They can't stop it. This chapter isn't about recovery. It's about exposure, and exposure always comes with a price, one they never prepared to pay. Number 2, silence isn't passive. It's the weapon that documents everything. Your silence wasn't surrender. It was the trap they walked into themselves. Never underestimate a quiet person. Still waters don't just run deep. They record everything sinking in them. My dear chosen ones, let that line hit the way it's meant to. Because right now, as this ruling shifts the entire landscape in your favor, the very silence people mocked you for has become the strongest evidence in the courtroom of truth. They thought your quiet was fear, confusion, or hesitation. They didn't know it was documentation. Chosen ones, listen closely. In a world where everyone rushes to speak, to defend, to clap back, your stillness was a shock to the system. Your refusal to respond didn't make you small, it made them sloppy. When you stayed quiet, they overplayed their hand. When you didn't react, they exposed their own patterns. When you didn't rise to their bait, they revealed exactly what they were hoping to hide. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. People assume it means you're folding. They assume it means you're overwhelmed, intimidated, or unsure. But chosen ones, your silence wasn't emptiness. It was a strategy so advanced that the people targeting you were never prepared for it. Every insult you didn't return, every provocation you didn't acknowledge, every rumor you didn't chase, all of it became part of the case that is now ruling in your favor. They wanted you to react. They wanted you to break character. They wanted you to lash out so they could point and say, "See, that's the real them." They needed your chaos to cover their intentions. They were counting on your anger to make them look controlled, but you didn't give them the performance they rehearsed for. Instead, you gave them stillness, a stillness that made their behavior impossible to disguise. And chosen ones, that's when their downfall began, because silence does something loud people will never understand. It gives the truth space to walk right into the room without you lifting a finger. The quieter you became, the louder their intentions grew. The more disciplined you stayed, the more reckless they became. They built their own case with their own actions, while you simply watched the mask slide off piece by piece. You might be wondering, why did the universe use my silence? Why didn't things shift earlier? Because, chosen one, silence exposes what noise tries to hide. When you don't respond, people reveal themselves without your interference. They show their motives, they show their insecurities, they show their desperation, and they do it all believing no one is watching. But you were watching, and so was the world around you. This ruling in your favor isn't just about justice, it's about validation. Not validation of your pain, but validation of your discipline. It confirms that you stayed true to your character, even when they tried to drag you out of it. It proves that you knew when to speak, when to move, and when to let silence do the heavy lifting. And chosen ones, make no mistake, your silence did not protect them. It recorded them. Every smear they attempted, every trap they set, every whisper behind your back, every twist of the narrative. Your silence captured it all like a camera they didn't know was running. Now the playback is happening. The ruling didn't just say you were right. It showed why you were right. It revealed that what they called weakness was actually depth. What they called passive was actually patience. And patience, chosen ones, is the great revealer. It exposes what rush tries to cover. It tears down what manipulation tries to build. It clarifies what lies attempt to blur. Right now, someone is realizing that the silence they mocked has become the very thing closing in on them. They didn't expect your quiet to turn into evidence. They didn't expect your restraint to become their downfall. They didn't expect your self-control to expose their lack of it. Chosen ones, this moment proves something powerful. Quiet strength is still strength. It's the kind that doesn't bend under pressure, doesn't cheapen itself to match someone else's chaos, and doesn't rupture just because someone tried to provoke it. Your silence wasn't an absence. It was a record that is now speaking louder than you ever needed to. And that record, it just won you the ruling they swore you'd never get. Number 3, the shift you're receiving is balance snapping back into place. When the scales snap back, they don't just balance, they break whatever tipped them. People don't realize the damage they've done until life returns the weight they dumped on you with interest. My dear chosen ones, let that sink in before we go any further. Because what's heading your way right now isn't luck, isn't generosity, isn't some random windfall drifting in your direction. It's a correction, sharp, precise, and overdue. And the people who created the imbalance in your life, they're finally feeling the recoil of what they set in motion. Chosen ones, listen closely. Your payout is not a blessing in the soft, sentimental sense. Number. It's the universe adjusting something that was knocked out of place the moment someone decided to interfere with your path. Every action they took, whether intentional or subtle, whether malicious or accidental, shifted something that was never theirs to touch. Your timeline, your opportunities, your peace, your momentum. And every shift, every blockage, every manipulation required a counterbalance. That counterbalance is arriving now, and that's why this moment feels heavier than anything you've received before. Some people thought they could twist your path like it was flexible rubber. They thought they could nudge your opportunities in their favor, drain your energy for their convenience, or steer your direction with their insecurities. They acted like your life was a chessboard where they could move pieces whenever they felt threatened or jealous. They underestimated something important. Chosen ones were not built for manipulation. You were built for impact. And anything that delays impact is recorded as imbalance. You might be asking, why does this payout feel so intense? Why does it feel charged, overdue, almost too big? Because it's not just a payout, it's restitution. It's the return of everything you were supposed to have. everything that was delayed, and everything that someone tried to quietly siphon for themselves. When the universe corrects imbalance, it doesn't return things gently. It snaps them back with the same force that was used to pull them away. Chosen ones, this is why life sometimes moves slow before it moves fast. Not because you're forgotten, not because you're unworthy, and not because you didn't try hard enough. It moves slow because evidence is being gathered, because imbalance needs to be measured before it's corrected, because stolen time needs to be calculated, because the impact of their interference must be accounted for. And let's be honest, some of the people who caused this imbalance never believed they'd be held accountable. They told themselves stories to justify their behavior. They downplayed what they did. They convinced themselves that your pain was exaggerated, your setbacks were coincidence, and your silence meant weakness. They bet on you saying nothing. They bet on the imbalance going unnoticed. They bet on you breaking before the truth broke through. But here's the thing about imbalance, chosen ones. Life doesn't ignore it. Life tracks it. Life remembers. Life corrects. This ruling in your favor is not a reward. It's a restoration, a recalibration, a return to sender moment for every delay, every manipulation, every twisted narrative, and every stolen opportunity. The correction is happening loud enough for them to hear it, heavy enough for you to feel it, and clear enough to make sure it never happens again. This is why your payout feels different. It's layered with meaning. It's weighted with history. It carries the echoes of every moment you were told to let it go, move on, stop overthinking, or stop making it a big deal. You weren't overreacting. They were underestimating. Chosen ones, the equilibrium that's being restored right now doesn't just give you back what was taken. It gives you the upgraded version, the expanded version, the version built from every ounce of strength, clarity, and resilience you earned during the imbalance. Your rise isn't accidental. Your payout isn't charity. Your breakthrough isn't random. It is justice woven into timing. It is balance snapping back into formation. It is the official declaration that what was disrupted is now restored. And someone out there, they're finally paying the price for tipping the scales against a chosen one. Number 4, your reality crushed the story. They tried to build about you. When your truth finally hit, it knocked down everything they built on lies. My dear chosen ones, never forget, some people don't crumble because you exposed them. They crumble because they underestimated the force of the truth you were carrying. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Someone out there is paying a price they never budgeted for, not because you fought back, not because you retaliated, but because they miscalculated the weight of your truth. They thought your truth was a feather, light, flexible, and easy to blow away with a few lies. They didn't know it was a wrecking ball gaining speed every time they tried to twist your story. They believed you were someone they could talk over, someone they could push aside, someone they could confuse with half answers and strategic silence. They assumed you'd break under pressure, fold under manipulation, or drown under the noise they created. They watched your calmness and labeled it naivety. They saw your kindness and stamped it as weakness. They mistook your restraint for inexperience. They convinced themselves you were the easiest person to manipulate because you didn't argue, didn't scream, didn't drag anyone into drama, and didn't rush to explain yourself. But chosen ones, your strength was never in your volume. It was in your clarity. It was in the quiet confidence of knowing that truth doesn't need a microphone. It just needs time. Your truth has weight, whether you shout it or not. It has gravity, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. It exists with or without their approval, and once it begins to move, it pulls everything with it. Motives, actions, systems, stories, even the people who swore they had nothing to hide. They calculated everything except the one thing that mattered. Truth moves slowly, but it never moves backward. While they thought they were winning, the truth was gathering momentum behind the scenes. It wasn't rushing, it wasn't exploding. It was building pressure like a quiet storm, collecting every contradiction, every lie, every inconsistency, until the moment it all snapped. And when your truth finally hit the table, chosen ones, it hit harder than anything they ever prepared for. Suddenly their words didn't match the reality. Their stories didn't match the evidence. Their performance didn't match their pattern. The version of you they tried to sell to others fell apart under the simplest light because it was never real to begin with. Now they're stumbling under the weight of consequences they created for you. Their own statements are circling back. Their own plans are backfiring. The traps they built are locking onto them instead of you. Not because you schemed against them, but because truth naturally rebounds. It doesn't disappear just because someone buries it under noise or manipulation. It waits, it settles, and at the right moment, it rises with precision. What they're paying now is not punishment, it's the cost of underestimating your authenticity. They thought your truth was bendable, breakable, or adjustable. They didn't realize it was sturdy enough to shift reality itself. And now that the ruling has swung in your favor, reality has shifted directly onto them, exposing every move they made, every lie they told, and every illusion they built. Chosen ones, understand this deeply. When someone miscalculates the weight of your truth, the fallout belongs to them, not you. Their collapse is not your responsibility. It's the natural consequence of messing with someone whose truth carries more power than their entire strategy combined. Number 5. Your struggle became the test that exposed the entire system. The court didn't crown you. Your struggle put the court on trial. Some people don't break under pressure. Pressure breaks the people pretending to have power. My dear chosen ones, let that sink into your bones. Because what just happened in your life isn't a simple ruling, a lucky decision, or some tidy moment of justice finally catching up. What happened was a full-scale audit of the system itself, triggered not by your complaints, but by your endurance, triggered not by your anger, but by your perseverance, triggered not because the court wanted to validate you, but because your suffering forced the entire structure to reveal what it was truly made of. Chosen ones, the world will try to spin the story. They'll say, look, the system helped you. They'll clap for the court, for the board, for the officials, for the authority that made the final call. But if you look deeper, if you look with the clarity you've earned, the truth is far more cutting. The court didn't validate you. Your struggle validated the court. You were the test. You were the lens. You were the spotlight they never expected would expose so much. Your experience became the mirror that showed everyone involved exactly who they were. And trust me, chosen ones, mirrors make liars uncomfortable. Your truth wasn't confirmed by their decision. Their integrity, or lack of it, was revealed by how they handled you. Every delay, every deflection, every convenient misunderstanding was recorded in a place no one could hide from once the ruling came down. Because your journey didn't just show what you were made of, it showed what they were trying to conceal. Chosen ones, think about it. Your honesty wasn't something the system had to verify. It was something the system had to stand beside or be exposed by. Your endurance forced every person in that process to pick a lane. Were they driven by fairness or by fear? Were they upholding truth or avoiding responsibility? Were they loyal to justice or to convenience? Some people had the power to help you long before this moment, but power means nothing if courage doesn't show up with it. And let's be real, many chose comfort over courage. They stayed silent when your situation demanded sound. They avoided involvement because calling out the problem would have revealed their own flaws, their own participation, or their own hypocrisy. You weren't too complicated to help. They were too fragile to confront what helping you would expose. Others watched your struggle like it was some sort of experiment. Not out of empathy, but out of morbid curiosity, waiting to see how much you could take before you broke. As if your endurance was entertainment, as if your suffering was data. These people weren't neutral, they were spectators. But there were a few, very few, who stood firm, quiet, steady, rare. They didn't parade their integrity, they lived it. They didn't choose the easy path, they chose the honest one. Their presence kept the system from collapsing entirely under its own weight. So when the ruling finally came, chosen ones, it wasn't a trophy handed to you, it was a test result handed to them. It showed who passed the test of truth and who failed miserably. It exposed who serves justice and who merely uses the word justice when it's convenient. The court didn't reveal your truth. Your truth revealed the court. Your pain mapped the cracks. Your patience marked the fault lines. Your resilience forced accountability. You weren't the one being examined, they were. Chosen ones, you didn't get saved. You exposed the system. You pulled back the curtain simply by surviving. And the verdict you're receiving now isn't evidence that they were fair. It's evidence that you were unshakable. Your suffering validated which parts of the system were real and which were rotting from the inside out. This breakthrough you're stepping into didn't arrive because someone in authority suddenly grew a conscience. It arrived because the truth you carried was too heavy, too precise, too undeniable for anyone to keep ignoring. You were the audit. You were the examination. And now the outcome you're receiving is the answer key. Only truth survived this process. And that truth is dragging your breakthrough forward with a force no one can deny. Chosen ones, this is not just a win. This is a revelation, and someone, somewhere, is paying the price for pretending they had integrity when your struggle proved they didn't. Number 6. What took long is returning loaded with every ounce you were owed. Your delayed wealth didn't just grow, it compounded into something no one can walk away from unshaken. Chosen ones, let me tell you something that will hit deeper the longer you sit with it. Delay doesn't kill a blessing, it fattens it. And right now, yours is returning with a weight that's making certain people nervous, confused, and suddenly very quiet. Because what's moving toward you isn't simple money or a casual opportunity, it's accumulated return. It's the payout of every silent battle you fought alone, every night you held yourself together without applause, every moment you endured what others would have collapsed under. People thought you were being denied, rejected, overlooked. But the universe wasn't blocking you, it was storing things for you. Every time someone tried to slow you down, another layer of interest was added to your breakthrough. Every time they underestimated you, the value of your return climbed. Every time life handed you a closed door, the storage room expanded. You weren't being delayed, you were being invested in. My dear chosen ones, there were seasons when you sat in your room wondering why everything felt stuck, why your progress moved like it was dragging chains behind it, why other people seemed to leapfrog ahead of you while you carried the weight of 1,000 unseen obstacles. You thought something was wrong with you. You thought you were being left behind. You thought your blessing was lost in transit. But all along, the math was happening behind the scenes. Every unfair moment was logged. Every betrayal was documented. Every tear was measured. Every setback recalibrated your return. Your blessing became heavier because your fight was heavier. You didn't go through lightweight struggles. Chosen one, you endured heavyweight rounds. So naturally, your payout comes with heavyweight interest. None of what you survived was wasted, not a single moment. Your pain didn't just hurt you, it shaped you. It carved your discernment so sharply that no one can fool you twice now. It sharpened your intuition until you could feel lies through a screen. It matured you into someone who no longer falls for the bare minimum or accepts crumbs disguised as loyalty. You learned who was genuinely for you and who was silently waiting for you to fail. You discovered who clapped because they cared and who clapped because they thought you'd never rise above them. That clarity, that intelligence, that intuition, that's all interest. Pain purchased those lessons for you, expensive lessons that comfort could have never taught. And then came the exposure. The delays did something unexpected. They revealed people. The waiting season peeled masks off faces you would have trusted too easily if the blessing had arrived earlier. People who mishandled you exposed themselves. People who underestimated you accidentally announced their intentions. People who thought you'd never rise showed their entitlement. The truth slipped out of them without you even trying. That exposure is interest too, the kind that protects your blessing now because the wrong hands already disqualified themselves. They cannot access what's coming, even if they beg, pretend, apologize, or disguise themselves as supporters. Their season ended the moment they revealed who they were during your hardest battles. What's arriving now isn't random abundance. It's everything that was taken, blocked, delayed, or mishandled being returned with depth. It carries the full weight of your journey, the tears, the lessons, the scars, the awakenings, the growth. This blessing feels heavy because it carries your entire story inside it. It's justice with interest, restoration with accuracy, compensation with proof. And chosen ones, when you finally hold it, you'll understand why it had to take time, because lightweight blessings don't belong to heavyweight survivors like you. This one had to gain weight to match the strength you built in the waiting. Number 7. They're facing consequences for touching a path they never had clearance for. When they crossed the line, they triggered a system they never knew existed. People don't always pay the price for hurting you. They pay the price for touching what was never theirs to handle. My dear chosen ones, this is the part most people never understand, and honestly, it's the part your enemies never even considered. They thought the consequences they're facing right now are tied to your emotions, your feelings, your reactions. They assumed the backlash would come from you being upset or offended. But what's unfolding isn't emotional, it's structural. It's the result of them tampering with a blueprint they had absolutely no clearance to touch. They didn't just interfere with your life. They interfered with a design that was never built with them in mind. Chosen ones, you need to understand the power of who you are in this moment. Your life isn't thrown together. Your path isn't improvised. Your progress isn't random. Everything about you is interconnected. Your steps influence situations, people, opportunities, and changes you haven't even seen yet. Your rise impacts rooms you haven't walked into. Your presence shifts dynamics long before you arrive. And that's why the consequences for people who try to sabotage you are always far heavier than they expect. They aren't just blocking a person, they're interrupting the function of an entire system. They're stepping into a role that wasn't assigned to them, touching wires they were never supposed to handle, and triggering alarms they didn't even know existed. Think about it, my chosen ones. How many times did someone try to slow you down out of jealousy? How many tried to mislead you out of insecurity? How many attempted to block you out of fear that you would surpass them? They believed that harming you was simple, personal, small. What they didn't know was that your path is part of a larger design, one that requires precision, timing, and alignment. When they interfered, they weren't hurting your feelings. They were creating fractures in something structured, something bigger than either of you. And fractures require immediate correction. This is why the consequences they're facing right now feel so intense, so sudden, so heavy. It's not revenge, it's maintenance. It's the system clearing out interference. It's the blueprint correcting itself. When a beam in a building cracks, the repair is urgent and unavoidable. The process isn't soft, it isn't delayed, it isn't negotiable. It must be fixed. And it must be fixed now. That's exactly what's happening with your journey. Someone touched a foundational part of your path, and now the correction is unfolding with all the force required to restore balance. Chosen ones, let this settle in your mind. They are not suffering because of who you are. They are suffering because of what you are connected to. Your life activates things they could never understand. Your growth changes more than your circumstances. It changes future outcomes, future opportunities, and future people. You are part of a chain reaction that they were never meant to interfere with. So when they inserted themselves where they didn't belong, the backlash wasn't optional. It was automatic. They may think they're being targeted. They may think life is being unfair. They may think everything is collapsing at once. But the truth is simple. They tampered with a design they didn't build, didn't understand, and weren't authorized to access. And now the system is removing them the same way any protective structure removes a loose bolt, a faulty part, or a dangerous obstruction. This isn't personal. It's structural. It's the restoration of a path that was crafted long before they even showed up. And chosen ones, the moment they touched what wasn't theirs, the outcome was sealed. Their downfall isn't your victory. It's the natural cost of interfering with a foundation they never had permission to alter. Number 8. Your breakthrough didn't end a chapter. It erased their entire script. When the truth hit the table, their entire storyline went up in flames. Nothing collapses faster than a lie that finally runs out of places to hide. My dear chosen ones, that line isn't just a quote. It's the soundtrack behind what's happening in your life right now. Because this ruling, this shift, this moment where everything finally snapped into alignment didn't just close a chapter. It detonated the entire fictional universe your enemies built around your name. And the explosion? Oh, they felt it first. This victory feels different because it didn't just resolve a situation. It erased the entire script that certain individuals depended on to feel relevant, powerful, or morally superior. For years, some people weren't just watching your journey, they were editing it. They tried to rewrite your identity in real time, shaping a version of you that made them comfortable. They needed you to look lost so they could call themselves leaders. They needed you to look unstable so they could pretend to be balanced. They needed you to seem unreliable so they could announce themselves as the voice of reason. They weren't describing you. They were prescribing the role they wanted you trapped in. Chosen ones, hear me. The labels they tried to glue onto you were never about truth. They were about ego survival. They built an entire narrative to protect their insecurities, and that narrative became their shield. Anytime someone questioned their behavior, they had a ready-made script to hide behind. Oh, you know how they are. They're dramatic. They exaggerate. They're not all there. They repeated these lines like a chorus in a cheap play, and the sad part is that some people believed them, not because it was true, but because repetition is powerful when whispered behind closed doors. They couldn't prove anything, so they relied on performance. But chosen ones, performances collapse the moment truth steps on stage. And that's exactly what the ruling did. The moment the decision came through, their entire storyline crumbled like a stage set built out of cardboard. The character they forced on you disintegrated instantly because it was never real. It was a costume they stitched together and tried to force onto your identity. But now, the seams have ripped open for everyone to see. The verdict didn't just say you were right. It declared they were wrong about you from the very beginning. That level of exposure hits harder than any consequence they imagined, because now they must confront a reality they spent years avoiding. The person they tried to discredit was the most grounded, stable, and honest one in the room. Chosen ones understand the weight of this. Everything they said about you was a projection. Every accusation was a confession in disguise. Every rumor was a reflection of their own hidden flaws. They never feared your downfall. They feared your clarity. They feared the day you'd finally stand without the narrative they built. And now, that day is here. Their downfall isn't happening because you rose. Their downfall is happening because their version of you can no longer exist. It evaporated the second truth stepped forward, and without the false story they crafted, they have nothing left. No excuses, no scapegoats, no misunderstandings, no character to point at and say, "See, that's the problem." Now the world sees them without the script, and it's exposing exactly who they've always been. The ruling didn't just liberate you, it stripped them of the mask they depended on for survival. Their reality is catching up to them at a speed they can't outrun, and the most poetic part, you didn't have to lift a finger. The truth did all the heavy lifting. This is what happens when chosen ones stay patient. The truth doesn't just set you free, it traps the people who tried to cage you in the lies they told. Number 9. Your rise is finally unlocked because the wrong hands lost their access. When access gets revoked, the money finally moves. Chosen ones, let's get something straight right now. Your money didn't take its time because you were unprepared. It took its time because the people around you were unqualified. The delay wasn't about your mindset, your effort, your belief, or your hustle. It was about the environment wrapped around you like a fog you didn't know you were breathing in. Too many people had front row seats to your energy, your ideas, your heart, your loyalty. Front row seats they never earned. They were too close, too comfortable, and entirely too entitled to you. If the payout had come earlier, it would have slipped straight into hands that specialize in draining everything they touch. And my dear chosen ones, you might not want to admit it, but some of those hands belong to people you once trusted. That's the part that stings. They weren't cartoon villains plotting your downfall. No, they were everyday people quietly benefiting from your struggle. Your lack made them feel important. Your confusion strengthened their confidence. Your exhaustion made them feel useful. And your silence was their green light. Because nothing empowers a hidden leech more than a chosen one who hasn't yet realized their own value. If the money, the opportunities, the connections, the elevation had come earlier, those same people would have latched onto you like it was owed to them. Some would have sweet-talked their way into your victories. Some would have guilt-tripped you into sharing. Some would have acted supportive just long enough to position themselves in the center of what was supposed to be your moment. And the universe. Yes, the same force that pulled the brakes when you thought you were ready, watched all of this. It saw the smiles that didn't reach their eyes. It saw the fake encouragement hiding quiet envy. It saw the people who only checked on you when they needed something. It saw the ones who loved you most when you were struggling, because your struggle kept you predictable, manageable, non-threatening. It saw who glorified your weakness, but went silent when you showed strength. It saw who cheered for you in public, but competed with you in private. And most importantly, it saw who would have corrupted your blessing the moment it arrived. So the blessing didn't stop. It waited. It waited for the masks to fall off one by one. It waited for betrayal to reveal the truth you refused to see. It waited for distance to do what confrontation couldn't. It waited for the emotional clutter to clear. It waited for the wrong people to expose themselves by simply acting like themselves. And chosen ones, you learned the hard way. Not every loss hurts. Some losses save you. The universe wasn't hesitant with your abundance. It was hesitant with their proximity. The blessing wasn't denied to you. It was denied to them. The delay wasn't punishment. It was a security measure. Think of it like a locked vault. You weren't being kept out. Others were. You weren't being restricted. They were. Your abundance had to be protected from greedy hands, manipulative minds, and entitled spirits who would have drained you dry and then acted like you owed them more. That's why now, finally now, things are moving. Not because the universe suddenly decided you're worthy, but because the room around you is finally clean. The parasites identified themselves. The pretenders exposed themselves. The leeches separated themselves, and with them gone, the flow is no longer threatened. Chosen ones, this blessing isn't late. It's precise. It's arriving at the exact moment where no one can intercept it, twist it, drain it, or attach themselves to it. It's yours, fully, safely, securely. They weren't removed because you changed. They were removed because their intentions didn't. And now that access has been revoked, your money, your opportunities, your elevation can finally reach you without obstruction. This is your moment. Not shared, not hijacked, not manipulated. Yours. And it's about time. And now, chosen ones, as we bring this message to its final moment, let this truth settle in your chest. Everything that shifted, everything that fell apart, and everything that revealed itself was preparing you for this exact turning point. Your path is clear, your access is protected, and your rise is already in motion. If this resonated with you, show your support. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop 77 in the comments so we know you're locked in and ready for what's next. And don't forget to share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Your rise inspires more than you know.